Defense attorney Pate is here with us all morning long. So, Pate, help us understand this. He said, after being arrested, that he was doing this after pledging allegiance to ISIS, that he follows Allah, and that's why he was called to do this. But no terror charges there. Why?
Well, legally, you have to do more than say, I was inspired by ISIS or I'm a member of ISIS. Even if you are a member of ISIS, you can still commit a crime, even a violent crime, and it not be terrorism. Under Pennsylvania law, and it's very similar under federal law, the crime has to, number one, be a violent act, and clearly we have that here, but it has to be done with the intent to either influence government policy or intimidate a large group of people. And I think at this point, we know that his motive was kind of inspired by ISIS. He didn't believe that the law enforcement officers were enforcing laws that were consistent with his religious beliefs, but I don't know that we know enough about the case to actually raise it to a terrorism charge.
So let's talk about how they get to that threshold. We know investigators have seized items from his apartment. They're looking for any communications with ISIS leaders. But if this is someone who was self-radicalized, if this is someone who doesn't have a social media platform, how do they ever reach that threshold?
Well, I don't know that they do. And I think we had the same situation with San Bernardino. I mean, we could not directly prove that they were guided by ISIS or being directed by ISIS. So I think the way we're looking at terrorism now in this day and age is a little bit different from the way we used to have to look at it under the law. It's no longer going to be an act that is motivated solely to change government policy. Not the old al-Qaeda stuff, the things that we saw with 9/11. I think terrorism now, to the extent we're going to investigate it and prosecute it, we need to look at it in a broader sense. Are these folks radicalized to the extent they pose a danger to the community above and beyond a regular violent criminal?
One of Archer's relatives said that he'd been hearing voices recently, and this goes back to the question that we ask often after these types of events, the overlap of mental illness and this pledge to terror. How does a defense attorney approach that? I think we've learned how the state approaches it. How would you reach that?
Well, the first step in any case where I'm concerned about my client's mental condition is I will have a competency evaluation done. And that's easy to do. Even if it's a public defender, you can get the state to pay for it. A doctor will interview him, try to determine, number one, does he even know the difference between right and wrong? If he doesn't, then you can't take him to trial until he does. The other issue is, even if he's competent, was he mentally insane at the time he committed this act? And I think from what we've heard, that's certainly an argument I would make as a defense lawyer.
All right. Obviously still waiting to get more answers in this case as the investigators look for information about potential communication with ISIS. Pate, good to have you this morning.
Thank you, Victor.
All right, ahead, continue.